the little ellipses at the top of your screen. It's different places for everybody. Please do keep yourself muted just while the presentation is there. If you have any questions, you're welcome to stick them into the chat box. And at the end of the BC Emergency Health Services session, there will be time for a Q&A as well. So you're welcome to unmute yourself and take yourself off camera at that point. Before we begin, I just want to do a territory acknowledgement. WorkBC Centre Westshore Sooke recognizes the traditional territories of the Esquimalt, Songhees, Sooke, Shainu, Pacheedaht First Nations, on which our offices are located. We are proud to provide employment-related services to these nations. So we just have a brief agenda for today. I'm going to do about a 5 to 7 minute WorkBC presentation, just share about our services here at WorkBC. Then I'm going to hand it over to Rhiannon at the BC Emergency Health Services, and they'll do a question and answer period as well. So for those of you that aren't familiar with WorkBC Employment Services, we offer a plethora of different things that are going to help you in your job search. We're free and we're available to all unemployed British Columbians who are looking for work and legally able to work in BC. So some individuals that are already employed might be eligible for our services. So if you're at risk of losing your current job, or you're considered underemployed in British Columbia, or if you have a disability, you're also eligible for the full scope of services. We have WorkBC centers located all across British Columbia, and we offer a range of services that support all job seekers to improve your employment readiness and to find or maintain employment. Additionally, any BC job seeker can access the self-serve resource area of any WorkBC Employment Services Center. So if you already have a job and you're looking for a new one, you can access our resource center, and that includes things like a computer, fax, and phone. As mentioned, the Resource Center is open to all job seekers, so computers for your job search, or a printer or photocopier, and then staff members are there to help you if you have any questions or you need assistance. Our resource services are provided on a drop-in or appointment basis, and that goes for any WorkBC Center across British Columbia. We also offer in-person workshops at our Westshore and Sooke centers, as well as virtual. So our workshops cover all aspects of job search and job retention to ensure that you achieve your goals. We offer workshops like resume building, career planning, interview skills, hidden job market, computer skills, financial literacy, and then, as I mentioned, we have virtual workshops or information sessions like what we have today. We have a wage subsidy program, and it's designed to assist unemployed individuals, or again, underemployed individuals, if you want to enhance your skills on the job. So wage subsidy assists the employers when they're hiring someone who lack maybe the necessary skills for a position. And what they do is we will approach an employer on your behalf and say that we'll pay for a percentage of your wages in order for you to get that experience on the job. We offer personal employment planning. So we provide individual sessions with an employment advisor to build your return to work action plan, which is going to help you define your path to success. We also offer what we call job start support. So work clothing such as boots or scrubs, tools, or short courses such as food safe and first aid. They can be available to those that are unable to afford it. So if you need those things to get started with your job, come to a WorkBC Center and we'll help get you set up. WorkBC centers also offer job sustainment services to help you resolve issues impacting your ability to maintain employment. So we can provide on-the-job or in-office support from our experienced job coaches, and they can help you to mediate disputes with your employer or learn new procedures or gain insight into today's workplace culture and help you to sustain your employment. As a registered client of the WorkBC Westshore or Sooke centers, you can receive our newsletter, Job Links, which is like full of amazing information. Excuse me. This newsletter features a daily list of job leads, covers local employment information, as well as employment events and programs. So you can learn more about our services at the link below, and it will probably be put up in the chat in a second there. We have a couple of upcoming events with the WorkBC Center. So on February 11th in Sooke, we have a job and volunteer fair. So we're going to highlight 20 employers that are looking for paid positions within the Sooke or Langford or Port Renfrew area. And there's also a portion of the job fair where we have nonprofits that are looking for employers. So if you're looking for work, this is the right event for you. If you're looking to volunteer, maybe that was one of your goals for the new year, this is a great opportunity to connect with a bunch of amazing nonprofits that are in Sooke. We also have our Women in Trades virtual information session on February 22nd coming up. And again, the links to sign up for those are probably going to be put in the chat in a second here. One thing to note for the Sooke Job Fair, if you register ahead of time, which is not necessary but recommended, you're going to be entered to win an Amazon Fire tablet, which is a really good opportunity. So if you are interested in WorkBC services, you can contact us. I would maybe say take a picture of this or screenshot it. You can always just Google WorkBC Centre, Langford or Sooke. That is it for our presentation. So I am going to hand it over. Thank you so much. And I'll just take myself off and it's all up to you, Rhiannon.
Thank you, Tabitha. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Rhiannon Anderson-Stelmack. I'm the Indigenous Talent Acquisition Coordinator for BC EHS. I do have a few members joining me here today, so if we can get them unmuted and back onto video, just because we're going to get started with the presentation, and I'll let them all introduce themselves as well. So Brian Twaits, are you there?
I'm here. My video seems to be locked, but that's fine. We can look at you. That's great.
Wonderful. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. It looks like I'm live again. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Twaits. I'm a paramedic specialist with British Columbia Emergency Health Service, and I'm also in a new role of the Public Relations Liaison Officer. I've been a paramedic in Vancouver for about 36 years now.
Thank you, Brian. So Brian's going to be helping me with the pathway presentation that we're going to bring up on board. Jordan, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Jordan Stalen Holland. I'm the Indigenous Patient Navigator for the Vancouver Coastal and Fraser Valley region, as well as Vancouver Island right now. I am of Deschatan clan of Carcross-Tagish First Nations in the Yukon, but I am here today on the unceded traditional territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh people in Vancouver. Yeah, just supporting Brian and Rhiannon today.
Thank you, Jordan. So she's here also to answer questions. So when we do the presentation, we ask that you save your questions for the end, and then we'll get to them and we'll be able to answer with our panel. Deb.
Hi, guys. I'm Deb Roberts. For some reason, I come up as Zoom user. I haven't been able to figure out how to get my name on here. Yeah, so I am the new EMR project coordinator across the province. So we're trying to get anyone who's a driver only currently up to the EMR level, but also helping with recruiting and getting EMR into all high schools.
Thank you, Deb. Matt Wright. Matt Wright, did you want to?
Hi, my camera's not working for whatever reason. It's John Michael Wright, unit chief with Port Renfrew. Been out there for 3 months. My total service time is 24 years. I'm a PCP. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike.
I'm Michael Satt. I'm new to the role of talent acquisition representative and spent 34 years working with BC Ambulance Service as an advanced life support paramedic and district supervisor.
Thank you, Mike. So we have a fantastic panel here today to answer questions once we've gone through the presentation. So what we'll do is we'll just get right into it, and I'm going to jump in and screen share. Hopefully the right screen. Can everybody see that? Perfect. Okay. All right. I can't see you in the background when I've got the presentation screen up, so vocally let me know as we kind of go through. So thank you. I want to thank everyone that's taken the time out to join us today. We're going to talk a little bit on the career pathways with BC EHS and the opportunities within our organization. We'd like to acknowledge and recognize that today we are coming together from a number of ancestral, traditional, and unceded territories. We acknowledge these homelands and respect Indigenous peoples as the original peoples of these lands. Please take a moment to reflect and honor the original occupants of the land that you live on. So we're blessed to be able to come virtually from all over BC here today. I think a lot is focused around the Sooke and Port Renfrew area. So thank you. So we're going to just jump right in to the first slide, hopefully. So who are we? This is the biggest question. So BCEHS, so British Columbia Emergency Health Services, provides pre-hospital emergency services and inter-facility patient transfer throughout the province. And as you see going forward, you're going to see that we are really big on our acronyms. So everything's got some form of an acronym. So we do have a little bit of a test at the end. Just kidding. But for all of the different acronyms. So our first big one is BCEHS. So when you see that out there, that's what that stands for, is British Columbia Emergency Health Services. Now you know why we just say BCEHS. So Brian, are you there? Did you want to start off on this one?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the test, because that's a good one. So BCEHS, why is it a great place to work? Well, we're going to tell you all about the career possibilities that we have with the organization. But I think that the top point is it's the ability to help and serve in your own community, which is really so important. You work in a team environment. We have continuous learning and growth opportunities, career advancement. And the other thing is that we serve all of BC, which is something we can talk about a little bit further. You're not just restricted to one area. You can go anywhere in the province. So that's I think is one attractive thing that we have.
Yes, thank you, Brian. We're going to start this video. Just let me know if you can hear it.
Every day I come to work, it's something different.
You have to be up for adventure because you never know what your day is going to bring, where you're going to be, what kind of patients you're going to see.
You got to be compassionate. You have to be level-headed. You have to be able to work well under pressure.
There's a certain draw to being able to help people and show up in their most desperate moments, knowing that I've given the best possible chance for this patient and their family.
The world of paramedicine is so different from a nurse and a doctor, people who work in facility, because we're actually going into people's homes.
You have to be prepared to accept anybody and everybody, their beauty and diversity of a human being.
When you show up on somebody's worst day ever and they're looking at you for help, I am very proud to be that person.
I mean, deep down, I think it's wanting to help people and doing a job that not everybody can do.
This is a career that you just don't come into and stay one position.
There's opportunities for growth to provide better care to our patients.
The role is being there and being a person of comfort to help people through those stressful positions. And yes, you learn some mad skills and you get to use those, but more often than not, you're there to provide that compassionate care and help people through that emergency that they're having at that time.
Being a paramedic, it's not just a job, it is a lifestyle. This career has given me the chance to explore BC.
We come home, we go for a bike ride, we're able to debrief and de-stress. That work hard, play hard, really helps us keep that resilience up with our service, keeps us coming back every day.
The patient is only seeing, oh, there's 2 paramedics that have shown up here. But behind the scenes, you have call takers, dispatchers, fleet management, unit chiefs, community care paramedics, critical care paramedics, advanced life support.
I feel a sense of pride. I feel a sense of being a part of something, that link in that chain and saving people's lives.
Whether you live in a big city in BC or in the furthest reaches of the province, when an ambulance arrives, it's the same ambulance with the red stripe on the side, with paramedics in the same uniform, and we're all part of the same team.
Really gratifying to be able to take control of the scene, and that ability to be able to say to those people, like, you know what, I've got you, I've got the ambulance on the way. This is why I signed up.
People don't remember all the things that you did to them, but they remember if you were a good human being and if you made their journey better.
So that's a video that you've probably seen out and about. We've got on radios and stuff, and it gives you just a small glimpse of the different opportunities within our organization. So today we'll be able to kind of go through step by step so you can see a little bit more inside of that. So when we start talking about paramedic career pathways, now you can start seeing a lot more acronyms coming out here. So the different levels. So when we start getting into it, we'll get a little bit more into it, but not too much into detail. So the first basic license level that we accept here in BC Ambulance is called an emergency medical responder, or the EMR. So that's basically our first toolbox when we start talking about first aid, everyone having that knowledge. This is going to be our first toolbox called the emergency medical responder. So you're going to gain those skills and the tools to be able to help. You can build on each toolbox and start moving your way up. So the next step would be the primary care paramedic, so the PCP. So you add your EMR tools and then you start upping your education and moving up. Continuing up, you can go into different avenues, like we have an Indigenous patient navigator. We have Jordan here today with us, thank you. And that's an IPN. Community paramedicine, a CP. Advanced care paramedic, so an ACP. Paramedic specialist is the PS, and the critical care paramedics is the CCP, and infant transfer team, so ITT. So now you can start seeing why we start getting into these acronyms, because we don't generally have conversations every day that use this many acronyms unless we're doing a presentation. So there is a little bit of a quiz at the end to see what you can remember. And then alongside of that, there's other avenues, and we can talk about dispatch career pathways. So with that, we've got emergency medical call takers, so those that are taking the calls, EMCT, emergency medical dispatchers, so those that are dispatching our crews, patient transfer coordinator center, so the PTCC, see, it's like a tongue twister. And then the patient transfer network, the PTN. So we'll talk about all of these a little bit more as we kind of move throughout the presentation. So EMCT, or the EMD, going into the different areas for dispatch centers. So throughout the province, we've got three main ones for dispatching our crews. One is in Vancouver, another is in Kamloops, and the third is in Victoria. So these are the different places that recruit medical call takers and dispatchers. So what does it take for your prerequisites to be an emergency medical call taker? So this is a valid CPR, standard first aid or higher, grade 12 diploma. This is the big one for me, typing 40 words per minute, as I'm like a 28 on a good day. So the ability to type 40 words per minute, 19 years of age, a good geographical knowledge of BC. So there's the things that you're learning throughout BC, the roads, the hospitals, locations, that can all be learned. Medically fit, and completed a criminal record check. So we need to do a criminal record check. Legally eligible to work in Canada and able to work shift work. So a lot of our different positions do require working shift work. So Brian, did you want to take away this slide?
Sure. Yeah. You know, I don't want to bore everybody. I'll sort of let them read what's up on the slide there instead of me droning on. But essentially, it's right there. The emergency medical call taker is what I like to call the first line of response for BCEHS. When you phone 911, these are the people that answer the call, gather all the important information, assess the patient over the phone, and then in conjunction with our medical dispatchers, they assign the call over to them, who in turn dispatch the call. But the amazing thing about the call taker is, like I said, they're the front line of defense. And you may find yourself delivering, helping mom deliver a baby on the telephone, or you may be assisting somebody in doing CPR, or giving somebody instructions to use Narcan or how to control a bleeding situation. So you're actually giving emergency care on the telephone while paramedics are being dispatched. And I think that it's a remarkable job to watch what our call takers and dispatchers do. And if we go to the next slide, Rhiannon. Emergency medical dispatcher, exactly that. They're all trained as call takers. They move into the dispatch role, and their job is to take that call and then assign it to the resources. So it's a little bit like a chess game. Which resource are they going to send to which call? And it all depends on the priorities of the call. And again, it's almost like being a conductor on the channel. They're arranging stuff with other responding agencies and hospitals to make everything work smoothly.
So then we look at the patient transfer network, so the PTN.
Yeah, and the PTN, this is another interesting field that we have that a lot of people aren't aware of. So let's use a community somewhere in British Columbia. We'll take Dease Lake. Rhiannon's going up to Dease Lake shortly for some recruitment. If you have a medical incident or a traumatic incident in another area of British Columbia, and you need to get transported to a different level of care, say you've had a heart attack and you need some specialized care and they've decided that they're going to send you to Vancouver Hospital. This is what our PTN does. They work with the nurses and the physicians in the sending facility. So in that case, Dease Lake. And if we're going to say that's going to be Vancouver. So they do all the arranging with the nurses and doctors about getting somebody a bed and getting all their diagnostic treatments arranged between the two facilities. Very important job, especially when you look at the size of British Columbia. Patient transfer coordinator. So these are the requirements for prerequisites to getting into a job in the PTN.
Yeah, so a little bit more than the entry level that we'll be discussing, like with the EMR, but yeah, having that grade 12 medical terminology, graduation from a nursing unit, and 1 year of recent related experience. All right, I love this photo. This is a beautiful photo. Go ahead, Brian, you talk about this photo.
Yeah, we like using this photo because it sort of shows British Columbia in its entirety. It's a beautiful province, and it also shows the different methods of response. The only thing we don't have in here is a boat, because we actually do have dedicated ambulances that are boats. So this is our Prince Rupert crew, and it sort of shows exactly that. We've got a helicopter there, we've got a ground-based ambulance, and we also have single responder units, which is the SUV that you see there as well. So just to give you an idea of the different ways that we deliver care around the province.
Yeah, with the beautiful scenery, that is one of those hidden perks that we don't really talk about, but being able to see different country and different scenes like this. So let's get started into the basic entry level into our emergency medical responder. So to join BC Ambulance, we're talking about the basic level, which is that emergency medical responder, so an EMR. This is the one where I'm saying that you've taken your first aid knowledge, your basic first aid that you're working on, or we do recommend, if anyone doesn't have first aid, to go out and get first aid with a CPR AED of some sort, whether you want to join us or not. That's valuable to take kind of forward throughout, because when you think about it, who's on scene before the ambulance? Bystanders, right? So anybody out there should look into getting any kind of basic first aid or CPR. So then when we look at an emergency medical responder for the ambulance, we're going to take our basic first aid skills and we're going to start putting it inside of a toolbox called an EMR kit. So it's basically got some tools in there that gets us started on some life-saving skills. The course duration. So for an emergency medical responder, this is our entry level, and it is 2 to 3 weeks, and it's an external course. So you go out to different paramedic associations that put on these courses, and you can take this course. You're then licensed to, then you go through licensing through EMALB, which basically will test you to make sure you've learned what you needed to in that course to be then licensed as an emergency medical responder. And then you're licensed to administer the basic life-saving emergency medical care. Once you've got that, that's our entry level. So when you think about if you're midway, you want to switch careers midway through your life, it's an opportunity to be able to look at that, jump in. Or if you're just starting out you know, there's lots of different ways. We have a lot of people that actually retire and want to come back and work with us on a part-time basis, and they'll start at that EMR level. The next level to up from the EMR is the primary care. So now we're talking about just upping your level with that next kit, the primary care paramedic. So this one here is a little bit more lengthy. So you're looking at a course duration of 8 months or 18 months part-time, and this is also an external program. A lot of times people will come in, they will get that basic EMR, start working for us, and then jump into a part-time PCP program to be able to up their medical license, because they'll be on call and say, you know what, I want some more tools in my toolbox. And that's a really good way to be able to continue to work, have income coming in, and then up your medical license. The part-time program generally runs like 3 days every second weekend for that 18-month period. So it's a really good opportunity to be able to learn and work as an EMR and then continue to up your medical license, therefore upping your pay. So once you're in the PCP program, you're licensed to administer more advanced patient care, including IV therapy, some life-saving drugs. And most of our paramedics in BC are PCPs. So interesting there. And then we were talking, Jordan is here today with us today. So we have an Indigenous patient navigator. So this is a fairly new position that's been rolled out. So the IPN role is purposely to ensure the provisions of patient-centered care that is culturally safe for both Indigenous patients and their healthcare providers. So they're facilitating and coordinating access to healthcare services. And we're lucky to have Jordan here today. So at the end of the presentation, if we have some more questions for her, she'll be able to answer those for you. One of the other roles that we've got is called a community paramedic. So as we talk about being able to, you know, bounce throughout, take on different things. So the community paramedic, that course duration is 14 weeks, and it is an internal program, right? So you're in and you decide, hey, I want to do this. Then you go into that and start learning there. Then you're licensed. So it's for licensed PCP IV levels or higher to provide non-emergence and scheduled care to patients as part of an integral healthcare team. So may respond to some emergency calls as well. So we can talk about that again a little bit more into detail at the end. The next one. So as we talk about building our toolbox and adding more tools into our toolkit, we look at the advanced care paramedic, and you see this photo here. It kind of gives you a general overview of a lot of different tools in here. So maybe I'll get Brian to take it away.
Sure. Well, and another thing here is if you noticed, we talked about teamwork situations earlier, and you've noticed a couple of slides, you know, with the EMR and the PCP levels, you're working as a team, you're working with a partner. And then you're also going to, as things progress through the organization and different calls you go to, working advanced care paramedic. And here's just another great example of teamwork at a scene. And just before we go to that next slide, I forgot to mention earlier, we were talking about the different training for EMR, PCP, and again, ACP, and we've mentioned external training. We forgot to mention it when we were talking about our dispatch staff. If you come through the process and get selected and awarded a position to work as one of our call takers and then dispatchers, that training is actually internal. So we will hire you right off the street as long as you meet the criteria, and we'll put you through the training program for one of our dispatch positions. And I think that's really important to know that that's a great entry level position to look at. So I'm glad I remembered it. So yeah, let's move on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Brian, for sure. That's a very good, valid point.
So advanced care paramedic, again, course duration on that. As Rhiannon has mentioned, we're constantly building on our toolkit of all the skills that you've learned from EMR, PCP, and now you've taken a paramedic, advanced care paramedic program. This is an external based program again, so you can take it from learning institutions that are around the province. And what advanced care paramedics do is they specialize in sort of advanced care of medical and trauma patients, but they have a primary focus on cardiac and respiratory resuscitation.
Yes, thank you, Brian. I know you and I have both been talking a lot, so we're just going to take a little moment to have a puppy, a cute little puppy picture with the beautiful brown eyes, you know?
Gotta
Sometimes,
have a shameless puppy picture.
right? Yeah, when we're talking too much. All right, well, that's a cutie. We'll move on.
Sure. Paramedic specialist. Well, what's a paramedic specialist role? That's again, if we go on to the next slide, it's again, putting more training into your belt. This is a 16-week training program and it's internal. So you're selected within the organization. The prerequisites for that is you have to be an advanced care paramedic or a critical care paramedic. And what the paramedic specialists do, or the PSs, they respond to calls on the street in a single responder unit. And they try and concentrate on more high acuity mass patient events or complex patient events, high risk hazard events, tactical events, and things like that. But another really important function that they do is they work in our communications center alongside of our dispatch staff, and they provide telephone support to paramedics throughout the province. So it doesn't matter which town you're in British Columbia, and you're on a call and you need some assistance, we provide that to you. And by linking into a paramedic specialist, if depending on what's going on, we can even go further and line up through that avenue with our online emergency physician service. So we can even have a doctor come on the phone with you in some of the situations where it's required. So it's another really rewarding job.
Yeah, so when we talk about working in a team, and when you think maybe this is the avenue you want to go down, and you go, oh man, an EMR course, that's only 3 weeks. You get kind of nervous about that, but then you realize you're not working alone, you're working with a partner, and we've got layered services so that you can be able to call in some more support, call a friend, you know, those kinds of things, that you have that additional support going through the process. Critical care paramedics. I love this. This is amazing. So when we think about advancing our toolboxes, right, and we take our basic first aid and then we get a toolbox and then we start adding on to it, and we look at a critical care paramedic that's up in the helicopter or on a specialized rig, they didn't, you know, just jump out of school and jump into the helicopter. They did all of the steps, right, that we're kind of talking about here today. So for a critical care paramedic, that's another one that you're going to do an internal 18-month training to kind of up your medical license, up your skills. The highest level of specialized care with a focus on acute interfacility care, transport, air, medical response, and infant transfer and prenatal care. So very specialized. So as we talk about going up, you're starting to specialize in having those advanced skills. Specializing in adult and infant pediatrics. So the next slide here is kind of what we talk about with our toolboxes, right? So as we were talking about building a toolbox, each one here, I'm not sure if it's very clear on your screen, but we look at, so an EMA FR is the first one. That's generally what a first responder program at most of the fire departments will have, right? So they start with those kind of skills, and then you move into medical EMR. So you're adding more tools into your toolbox. Like we have a little toolbox right there. And then you start working your way up. And as you start going through, you just start getting a lot more tools into your toolbox. We'll bring this one back up at the end so that we can take a look at it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think also a good thing to add to that is we'll make available to you afterwards some copies of not necessarily of the PowerPoint that we're showing, but explanations of the slides. I guess we should have told you at the beginning, if anybody was taking notes, that we'll provide some stuff for you in that slide with the different levels of care. We'll actually provide a copy of that so you can read it a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll have some links and stuff for easy access to join into different things and see a little bit more if you're looking for more information. So we'll send that off to the WorkBC coordinator, Tabitha and Brianna, and then they'll be able to forward it out to anybody that requests some additional information. So this next one, we're getting into talking about working in a team environment. This is huge. So when you're joining us and in here, it's not, you're not into it solo, right? You've got a partner, and then we work with other departments. Like in this photo, we're working with the police and the fire. So we've got a group of us coming together to work together to provide care to a patient. So further career opportunities. So we've kind of touched on a few, and these are a couple other ones. So when we talk about other further career opportunities, so we talk about specialty teams, preceptors for new paramedics, practice educators, instructors, unit chiefs, clinical operations managers. There's so many other opportunities when you join our organization. You can come in at that entry level EMR and be able to continuously grow throughout the organization. And here's another one. It's the bike squad. Brian.
Yeah, so just talking about specialty teams, and we're going to talk a little bit about something that we call planned events, which involves specialty teams like our bike squad. So this picture, that's at Vancouver International Airport, where we actually have paramedics staffed 24 hours a day, but they respond on these bicycles to medical calls at Vancouver International Airport. And as we talk a little further with planned events, they'll also respond to things like the celebration of lights when we have a big festival in Vancouver or elsewhere in the province. We can deploy these bike squads to the big festival events where these bikes can get through the crowds way easier than an ambulance. We actually have a bike squad that's deployed 7 days a week in downtown Vancouver now as well.
Yes, so different opportunities. And look at that, planned events. So opportunities to work at various events throughout the province. It's one of those almost hidden secrets that people don't really realize the benefits of what we get to do, and behind the scenes things that we get to see as part of our work that you might not be able to see elsewise. So Brian.
Yeah, the planned events part is it's a really fun part of our job, and it's all throughout the province. There's special events that go on everywhere. Ironman competitions. We talked about the fireworks. There's so many things. I like to use this picture. This is one of our UTVs. So that's a fully outfitted UTV with a stretcher and paramedic gear. So we can actually transport patients with this. So as an example, we talked about the fireworks or music festival. We can get a bike squad into somebody who needs care quickly, but then we've got to get them out through the crowd. Well, we can't just throw them on the back of the bike, and that's where these UTVs come in. So they work in tandem with the squads, and we can transport the patients out from the scene. And you get to go to neat places like this. This is a Squamish Music Festival with one of our UTVs. People think, well, why is there a picture of a police boat? Well, again, our planned events, we go to a lot of things, and we were talking about the celebration of lights. So you may find yourself assigned to what we call Marine One with the Vancouver City Police. Again, teamwork with other agencies. And the next slide sort of shows you the view that you get that night. You get the best seat in the house for the fireworks. So that's a nice one to throw in there. Again, it's just different avenues that you can do with this career.
Yeah, and then we start talking about different events, right? And being front and center for hockey games, for different kind of games you can be front and center for. Brian, did you want to go with that one again?
Sure, yeah. I mean, professional sporting events, this is a picture of Rogers Arena. So contract work with the Vancouver Canucks organization. We cover the Whitecaps, we cover the BC Lions, we cover the Vancouver Warriors. We cover sports teams elsewhere in the province as well. So yeah, a front row seat to a sporting event while you're working. It's fun. It's a good gig.
Nothing like having this next one as a front row.
Yeah, concerts. Quite often we'll be contracted to work at concerts to sometimes for members of the public, but sometimes you're also assigned strictly for performers. And if anybody's wondering, that's Taylor Swift.
And that brings us to the end of the presentation, so we can open it up to questions, and we can pull out that acronym exam. No? Okay, just kidding. All right, so we can send it back to you, Tabitha.
Yeah, I just encourage anyone who has questions, if you're shy, feel free to put them in the chat below and I can read them out. Otherwise, take yourself off of mute. Let us see your beautiful face and you can ask questions directly to the team here, whatever you're comfortable with. We'll give everyone a second here. And thank you so much for the presentation to you and your whole team.
Yeah, thank you for having us today. It's good to just be able to talk and share the opportunity. I don't think a lot of people look at paramedicine as a career, or that they might need a 5-year degree to even get started. So we just want to kind of put it out there that, you know what, you can shift gears halfway through life and decide, you know what, I want to do this now, and be able to afford to do that. You can jump in. And we kind of touched on it in one of the screens, is that we're BC wide. So you can start at a station and, you know, and maybe in 10 years decide, you know what, I want to move to Tofino now. So you have the opportunity to lateral throughout BC EHS, because we're provincial, right? So we're all the way up to Atlin, down to Tofino, all the way across both borders. Like, we're all over. So we have stations throughout the province. So if that's something that's interests you, maybe you want to travel and go around a couple years in a community, or maybe you just want to change, or you want to get back to an area, there's good opportunity there. So to be able to join in at our entry level EMR and know that you don't have to stay there, you're going to want to get in and realize that you want to have some more tools in your toolbox. So then you start going up in the training.
Fantastic. Okay, so we do have a few questions here. I'll just read them out and give you and the team an opportunity to answer. Can you tell us some rewarding and challenging aspects of any of the roles?
Wow, that's a big question. It is challenging and it's rewarding in every aspect, right? When you think about, if you want to help somebody, it's ultimate. You are there, you're trained, you're training, and you can take those skills to be able to help. Does anyone else want to run away with this question? Because that's actually a fantastic question. There's lots of ups with that one.
I've got a little analogy that I always like to bring up when I've been teaching paramedics throughout the years, and I like to call it a retirement call. As a paramedic, as a call taker, as a dispatcher, as a nurse or a physician or an x-ray tech in a hospital, anybody who's involved with a successful resuscitation. So we're talking about someone who's had a cardiac arrest, in this situation for paramedics and call takers, out in the field somewhere. The call takers, the dispatchers, the paramedics are all involved with the care of this patient, and they successfully resuscitate the patient. They transport to the hospital. They get further care with the nurses and doctors and the staff there. And this person actually goes home. They get to spend time and life with their family and friends. And to me, that's a retirement call. And so if you're talking about rewarding aspects to be involved with something like that, really, you only have to do that once in your life, and I can guarantee you it makes your career fulfilling to be able to be involved. So hopefully that answers that question.
Great answer. And let's get into the tough one, challenging aspects of any of the roles.
So I can kind of go into this one a little bit. So obviously, being a paramedic, I was a paramedic and an emergency call taker, as well as an IPN now. And, you know, you do see hard things, and you are there on the worst day of somebody's life, potentially. So that is challenging to see. So you have to be willing and able to, you know, put your own plate of problems on the side for somebody else. Like compartmentalize and commit to yourself in terms of your own mental health, and things like that. Shift work is hard. You're going to be working night shifts. It's hard to miss birthdays, Christmas, things like that. It's hard to, you know, to talk to the public in that way, and they have no idea what you're going through in your own personal life, but the pros always outweigh the cons for me. So it really is, you know, it's a terrible call, and then you see them reunited with their family at the end of your work day, and it feels great, and it's better than any other feeling out there. So
fantastic.
And that's awesome. That actually just want to touch on, you did bring up a good point with these calls and the resilience that we need in the training. So learning to look after yourself so that you can continue to help others is a big key thing within our organization as well. So there's lots of training once you're inside to be able to learn what to watch for in yourself, in your partner, reporting, and help if needed. There's actually some flagged calls that are instantly you're reported to our critical incident stress team to be able to talk and debrief about those kinds of things. So making sure when we talk about the harder parts of our job, we have a really good setup now for resilience training and for looking after ourselves and our partners while we're trying to look after others, because that's the key part, right? You want to look after yourself so that you can help others.
That's great.
Chime
Okay,
in on
so,
that.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, to chime in on that, Rhiannon brings up a great point, and the best point or the best time to do that is early on in the career. Don't wait till you're 32 years in and grizzled and jaded like me. Do it early on, because there are times the longer you wait, the bigger the chance of it actually taking you out of your career.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, that's a really good point. So we do have what we call a new employee orientation for everyone that's come through our system. It is a mandatory 2 weeks training down in Vancouver that gives you kind of the ropes, and a part of that is our resilience training as well.
Okay, what positions are entry level or need less courses?
So that is the one that we've been kind of talking mostly about today, is that emergency medical responder. So that is our entry level license to be able to work on CAR, and that one's the 3 weeks. So a lot of different providers will be able to put that on. They have them running throughout the province and different cities and towns throughout BC. So that is our first level. So going through that, getting that EMR training is our start, along with having a class 4 driver's license.
Perfect. Lisa, I do see your raised hand there, and I will get to you in one moment.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna get to the one question here. Are the employment opportunities with BCEHS all full-time, or are there some part-time ones as well?
Oh, what a great question. So yes, we have both part-time and full-time positions. So generally when we do hiring, we're hiring for a part-time position, but if you see postings up for full-time positions, you have to have those criteria that's being met. So if it's a position for a full-time PCP at a certain station, then on closing date, if you have your PCP license, your class 4 driver's license, those kinds of things, you can bid on those kinds of positions. Brian, did you want to kind of take this one a little bit further? Because there's a lot of different opportunities with full-time and part-time. Like when we were talking dispatch, they have a full-time, right? And their shift pattern is 4 days on and 6 days off, right? So.
Yeah, and I think another good aspect there is, I was sort of looking through the chat, somebody was asking about taking training while working. And when you do a career, for example, working in our dispatch center, we have a lot of our emergency medical call takers who've gotten into the position, have loved what they've been doing, and have decided that they wanted to move up the ladder. So they've done their training for EMR and PCP while they were working as one of our call takers and dispatchers. They've been able to go to school with the part-time program and then move on and up in their career to other license levels. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity for that.
Yeah, and when we talk about part-time, what does that actually look like? So when you get hired in on a part-time station, you're going to be putting in what's called availability. So on the 15th of every month, you're going to put in some of your availability for the next upcoming month, and that goes into your unit chief at the station. They collect everybody's availability, and then they come out with an allotment. So there's a percentage of what they're going to be allotted. Then the unit chief creates the schedule. So this is the best part of being flexible with our part-time. You're really choosing the hours that you're available to work. So if you already have a full-time job Monday to Friday and you only want to come and work with us on the weekends, you can put that in for your availability. If you want to work you know, you want to put in 100%, you're like, you know what, I'm going to go to Cuba next month, I'm going to put in 100% this month. You can do that, right? So there's an allotment that's assigned and then you're scheduled in. The minimum that is required to be able to keep your seniority building is 8 shifts of availability per month. So when we talk about 8 shifts, 1 shift is a day shift, like a 7 to 7, that's a 12-hour shift, and then a night shift, 7 to 7 again. So that would be considered 2 shifts, right? So you look at 8 shifts minimum, and you can work as little or as much as you want to be able to put in. That's why with those that want to have other jobs and they work with us part-time, or those that are going to school, you know, they can say, you know what, I'm going to work here, and then on this weekend I'm going away to do my PCP school or other kind of training. So it's very flexible. Same thing as, like I just mentioned, going to Cuba. Maybe you decide next month I'm going to work the first 2 weeks of the month, and then the last 2 weeks I'm going to go off on a holiday or go see my family. So the flexibility of a part-time schedule works with quite a few people, and that is generally the position that's hired in. But if you do decide you're coming in and you're getting all of your check marks, your EMR, your criminal record check, your driver's abstract, everything checked off, and you're in the system going through the process and a full-time posting comes up, the TA team will actually send you an email. So everyone that's got qualifications for that posting, they'll send out emails and say, hey, there's a full-time post here. Are you interested? You can throw your hat in the ring and be able to, you know, potentially go into other full-time positions as they come up. There is a probation period of 6 months once you've been hired. So you have to go through, get all of your check marks. Once you're in the system, you've got a 6-month probation. So there's additional training that you're going to be wanting to do, because once obviously there's a lot to learn in the back of the ambulance. So you're going to have a 6-month probation period. Once you've completed your probation period, you can then do what's called put in secondaries and work at other stations as well. So the opportunity to work at your station or help out other communities, you can do that too. With that 6 months, we talk about loving BC and working all over BC. You have to be off probation to be able to put in a lateral for other posts. Deb, I see your hand up there.
Oh, sorry, we had Lisa actually with her hand up first, and then we'll go to Deb after that. So Lisa, if you're still there, if you have a question.
Mine's kind of a 2-part. I first of all want to thank you guys, because my husband had major health issues, and he had to call the ambulance 23 times with him, and he was airlifted 3 times as well. And I tell you, I've never seen anybody treated with such kindness and empathy and just care. And so I just want to thank everybody, first of all, for doing what they do. So thank you. My second part is I would love to be a dispatcher, but unfortunately my typing skills, I'm in the progress of, so they're not that great. I was just wondering how patient you guys are with people just kind of getting up to the 40 word a minute limit there.
Yeah, so that you definitely want to get up to that 40 words and then apply, because then what they'll put you through the testing for dispatch, and they'll test your geographical knowledge and they'll test your typing skills, and you need to hit that bar of 40. So if you can, you know, get to 41 and be confident that you can hit the 40. You know, I tried. I'm like literally at 28 words. Maybe I'm up to 28.5 right now. But it's you can work on it and increase your typing skills if that's, you know, do you know what your speed's at now?
It's probably around the 28, 30 word in there. Yeah.
They have programs online where you can take those typing tests and do some practicing, right? So if you get to that point where you're just like, wow, all of a sudden something clicks in your brain and you can type really, like some people can do that. They practice and then all of a sudden it's just right there. So if that's what you're into and that's what you're working towards, absolutely. So we do recommend, because if you come in and you try out and you don't hit that bar, then you're not going to make it into that class.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we want to go to Deb?
Me? Sure. I was just going to say, we had someone ask about the minimum requirement, and we do want you to be EMR, But if you're willing to go somewhere that's really shorthanded right now, like I know on the north end of our Vancouver Island, if you're willing to go to Alert Bay or Saintula or something like that, they will hire you as a driver only, which means you just need a Class 4 driver's license. And a condition of that hire is that you would get EMR within the next 6 months. And then once you're hired, we would actually put you into the program, and it would be internal that would pay for that. So there is opportunity if you've just got a Class 4 and haven't got a medical ticket yet to go somewhere that's really hurting in the province. There's a lot of areas that have no staff at all.
Yeah,
Valemont.
That's a good point. Thank you, Deb. Yeah, absolutely. Same thing, like we're viewing out to, I believe, Port Renfrew. So that is definitely one of our stations that will assist with what we're calling a special condition hire. So having your Class 4 driver's license, coming in, getting into our system, and then we will help you with that EMR. You do have a 6-month condition, obviously, put on your hire date there to be able to obtain that within that time. So that is a way that we've kind of gone out to expedite the process in our remote and rural communities that are struggling with staffing. So to expedite that and to help people through the system, because we realize now a lot of the paramedics are already working for us, right? With the COVID shutting down all of the schools for the last couple of years, we don't have that coming forward now. So the employer is working in these critically short-staffed communities, the remote and rural areas, to be able to help and work together with these special condition hires.
You know, an interesting thing that was brought up there, you know, Rhiannon was talking about flexibility and working part-time and taking time off. So people say, well, what about if you're working full-time? What about your holidays? We actually have an awesome holiday allotment for our full-time paramedics and dispatchers. And to give you an example, if you're working on the street as a paramedic in a full-time position, your shift is generally 2-day shifts, 2 night shifts, and you're off for 4. If you take one of your blocks of holidays, you're actually off work for 12 days. Holidays and rest time is important in the field of paramedicine, and we encourage you to take your holidays and enjoy yourself. But a lot of people don't realize with that holiday planning, and I'll give you an example. Last year, I took a block of holidays, so I had 12 days off. Well, what did I do? Well, I had enough time to go to Hawaii. So the holiday packages that we have for full-time employment are really great.
That's great.
Now, when we talk about full-time employment and opportunities, you know, there's postings going up, and we have never before been doing external full-time hires, and that is now happening. It started last year. We just generally, when a post goes up, we are union, so the internal applicants get to apply for those full-time spots first, and it goes based on your seniority. So that's why we encourage people that are wanting to get started, you know, sooner than later. But that seniority base is what will then decide who gets that post for full-time positions. So it goes by full-time PCPs, and then it'll go kind of down in the order. If there's no applicants qualified in that category by time the post close, they would go to the external applicants. So those that just come in and put in an application. If they're coming in with their PCP license and their Class 4 driver's license already, they're going to be considered qualified, and they could be potentially being offered a full-time spot. And that's never really happened before, but it's now happening that we are because there's so many brand new full-time spots available throughout BC that there is the opportunity for externals to be hired into a full-time spot.
Perfect. We do have a few questions here. I know we're going a little bit over time, so maybe there's just a few that might be able to be answered by your team in the chat here about where to see where the positions are available, et cetera. A common question that I'm seeing is a question about the wage, extended health.
Yes.
Yes, so wages. So the EMR course, the entry level that we were talking about, so that 3-week course at the entry level coming into ambulance starts roughly around $26.50 an hour. So pretty good start when you think about it. And then if you upgrade to a PCP, I think they're somewhere around $33 to $35 an hour. Another thing that we can't really go too much into detail with is that we're in the middle of contract negotiations, so potentially those wages are going to go up. But that's where we are at today. If we look back 10 years ago, an EMR was roughly around $16, $17 an hour, right? So things, as we start to kind of go up, those are going up. What was the second part of that question?
Healthcare coverage.
Yes. So Brian, did you want to talk about that on the full-time coverage?
Sure, you can get benefits with our organization when you're a part-time employee, and it's dependent on the amount of time that you put in working. So it's hour dependent for getting benefits. If you're a full-time employee, we have an excellent pension plan, and we have excellent health benefits. Again, the contract is being ratified, so there's probably some changes that we would hope would be for the better for that as well. But even right now, I'll give you an example. A paramedic is a physical job, and we have excellent coverage for physiotherapy and massage therapy that pretty much provides you with coverage for the year. So the benefits are fantastic.
Yeah, going back to looking after yourself so that you can look after others.
That's great. Okay, we have one here. You a little bit touched on it, but I'm just going to read it just in case there's any additional information that you wanted to share. I'm excited to begin training. However, I'm struggling with the ability due to finances to take time off of my current job for the course. Are there options for individuals like myself who want to get ahead but are struggling financially to take that step?
I was just typing the answer to that one.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, if she was able to get, I never looked. If they're able to get their class 4 driver's license and want to come and work for us in a smaller, remoter community, then there is the potential for us to pay for training. There's a lot of grants out there for different things. I know for sure the Justice Institute just secured some federal funding for a couple of their courses. There's one still left in Cranbrook that has openings. So they would pay for the course, but then get reimbursed for all of their money that they put out. So there's lots of different options out there. You can also do a part-time delivery if you do have a full-time class. So the EMR program I instructed for the Justice Institute as well. So we quite often will do like a Thursday night, Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday for 5 weekends instead. So they can still work Monday to Friday and then go do a weekend course. That sometimes helps people as well.
Perfect. And also just a little plug for WorkBC Employment Services. If you are unemployed or precariously employed and you're looking at returning to work and perhaps getting some training similar to what you're offering here, there is potential that you could be funded through WorkBC. I always say potential because we can't promise anything. It's really dependent on what your own personal sort of life looks like, but you're welcome to contact a WorkBC Center and we can chat about it. Lisa, it does look like you have your hand raised. Is there a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't figure out how to put it down. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It's all good. We like questions here.
Yeah, I'm not needy. Yeah.
It's all right. No, it's all good. Okay, I'm just going to scroll through. I know Deb's doing a great job of answering in the chat. Is there, if I missed you, please definitely raise your hand or feel free to come off of mute and ask out loud. I think we've got most.
Actually, I do have a question. You mentioned about being just a driver. Is that in remote locations only, or can it be done in the bigger cities as well?
Yeah, so that special condition hire for driver onlys is in those remote and rural stations that are incredibly short staff. And that is a temporary position because it is expected of obtaining that EMR license within your probation. So this is just to try and help expedite candidates to get into the system and for us to be able to help pay with that EMR course and to help out these remote stations that are really in need of staff. So we're really trying to get into communities to find people that are connected to those communities to be able to jump in and, maybe come to us in that avenue as well.
Okay, just one other question. Do you have any volunteer opportunities?
Like volunteering with us, or when we are licensed and then we go out and volunteer?
Just, maybe at, you say you do a lot of concerts and things like that. Is there any?
Yeah, so those are not volunteered positions. So when we do special events, so our crews will sign up to go and we actually work those events. So ones that volunteer sometimes is like the St. John's ambulance. They have OFA level 3s that they train up, and then they'll do special events at track days or concerts or hockey games, and they will also provide additional first aid. So if you're looking at gaining some knowledge, definitely looking into one of those organizations that provide first aid to these different special events.
I was just gonna add to what Rhiannon said. I knew I wanted to do this from an early age, and I was quite involved with the St. John Ambulance Brigade as a teenager and even into my 20s after I started working with the organization. So it's a great place to learn some first aid skills, which you can use all the time, and also help you get a feel for, yeah, this is really what I want to do. So I'd highly recommend something like that. Same with lifeguarding, another great opportunity for the careers.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. It looks like Deb's put up a link in the chat here for people that are looking for a website where you can view the positions. And then we have one question here. I think you did answer it during the presentation. Are positions available for non-residents of Canada? May I know the other requirements and the process of application? Thank you. That is from Christian.
Yes, so that's actually a great question. So we do have positions. So you still have to go through the process of getting your card here. I don't know if Deb wants to maybe jump in on more on this, but yes, we do. If you're across the province, what you need to do is work with EMA license. So if you have your medical license, say your PCP in Ontario, then you can work with BC EMA to transfer your license over so that you could then work for us. That's all third party. So if you're licensed somewhere else and you're coming here, then you definitely need to go through that process to be able to bring your licenses over. And actually that's the same as if you're in Australia, you still need to be able to bring your license over to BC. So sometimes it's different. Each province or each country might have different training. So if you were coming this way, say from Alberta, you might need to upgrade a course to be able to have your PCP license active here. Same thing as if you were taking your BC license across over to Ontario or something. There's different criterias in each governing body for their licenses.
And just further to that, when you do come to work for the organization, if you are coming from another organization, we have that NEO program that Rhiannon talked about. But just to give you an idea, there's a NEO course that's going on here in Vancouver right now. And we have a paramedic from Oregon, we have a paramedic from Alabama, and we have a paramedic from Alberta and also from Qatar. So yeah, it's quite possible.
Fantastic. If anyone had a question that's in the chat, you might want to double check because Deb has been answering them. For example, Layla, do we have to begin as a driver? Deb's answered that. It looks like we have answered everything in the chat. Speak up now if I missed you. I apologize. There's a lot of back and forth going on here. Any other questions?
I'm just going to touch really quickly while people are gathering their last thoughts for questions. So when we talk about talent acquisitions, minimum hiring, I'm just going to kind of go over that step by step here. So the class 4 driver's license is definitely something that's needed. The driver's abstract or your driving record, a medical license. So that was that EMR or PCP license that we were talking about. Clean criminal record check. And then once you're in the system, we put you through what's called a fitness assessment. So you do a self-assessment checklist to say yes, no to these fitness questions. And then you go to our, it's a third-party facility where you go through the paces. It's not Olympics, it's not going for the gold medal. You're just gonna go out, you're gonna do some stairs and push-ups and sit-ups and lifting and stuff like that. So they'll put you through the afternoon to make sure that you're physically fit to be able to do the job. And then after that, we were talking about that new employee orientation. So that's 2 weeks down in Vancouver. It is mandatory training, but it is well worth being down there. You're fully paid training, so it's not like you're out of pocket for that. And then the last thing, I guess I should have started with it, was the vaccine is mandatory in the medical field. So having that COVID vaccination.
Perfect. It looks like we have all the questions answered. Thank you so much to you and the team. That was a lot of really great information. So if you're able to send me any sort of notes that you have, we'll get this up and out to everybody that attended. And we'll share the information that you have that you'd like to with people that attended it. And be sure to follow us on our social media channels as well. We'll be sharing it on our WorkLink YouTube, as well as our WorkBC Westshore and Sooke Facebook page. So thank you again. Any other closing remarks?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out today and joining us and learning a little bit more about BC EHS. Now you'll be thinking, when you see an ambulance drive by, you'll be like, oh, you know, maybe that is an opportunity that I want to jump into or explore a little bit more. So if tomorrow you wake up and you say, hey, I want to do this. I saw Deb put it in the link there, BC EHS join us. Go in there, it'll bring you right to our landing page. So it'll ask for your information. It'll send you an email. You'll have access inside. You'll see the postings. You'll see what we were talking about for requirements for TA. And then there's, if you have questions, you can reach through there as well, and they'll direct it and tell them, say, hey, I saw this presentation here. You just email that at careers@bcehs.ca, and they will forward it back to our team here to be able to answer or help throughout the process. So thank you for taking the time to join us.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for all of the work that you do. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.